Right, it's Christmas Eve. Very mild it is too. Not as mild as last year. I think it was a record last year. We had 15 degrees. This year it is 14 degrees, so it's not far off. So it is very mild, very dull, grey, overcast day, but pleasant enough to be out in the garden. So no particular subject for the video today other than wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, a merry mild Christmas. Just looking at the pink china there. Obviously I've cut all the leaves back, but the stems haven't turned to mush yet, so that's how mild it's been. Everything's looking pretty good as expected. We've only had 3 or 4 frosts so far this winter. Not been too cold at all. Lowest was -3. So yeah, in general everything's looking pretty good. And just look at the Espidistra, the cast iron plant. Looking absolutely mint condition. That's been planted there for the last 3 years and has been out in a pot for a couple of years before that, so that's undoubtedly very hardy. If you grow any rhododendrons, we've got one here. This is a sort of variegated one. You should start seeing the buds start to swell for the flowers and new growth for next year. Yes, it's very, very pleasant out here today. Very still, no wind. We quite lucky here on the east coast. We missed the wind over the weekend. I know some areas got 50-60 mile per hour winds again. We probably got about 30 mile per hour winds here, so sort of again missed the worst of it, and they were coming from the west, which is sort of protected by trees at the back here, so didn't really feel any wind in the garden. So it wouldn't be Christmas without visiting Santa's grotto. This is just my summer house, which everything gets cluttered about around this end, and a lot of plants get overwintered in here. So we'll have a quick look, go through some of the plants quickly for you. So this is unheated in here. I have in the past heated this when I didn't have my hot house, but this is just literally it's a nice sunny spot in the garden, which it's just a wooden summer house. It is insulated floor and walls, but the ceiling isn't. I've actually put a skylight in the ceiling to give it more light during the winter, so it does get a benefit from a bit of greenhouse effect when the sun is out, even in winter. That does warm up a little bit. So we've got a lot of the birds of paradise in here. Got some palms. So what have we got? We've got a Phoenix Canariensis in a pot there, one I bought reduced a few years back. We've got one of my 2 Butiagris aerospatha. So one's actually in the ground, one's in a pot. Obviously the one in the pot is in here. We've got a queen palm, so in a pot there, which is touching the ceiling. What else we've got some other palms here. We've got the Djiboutia, recently purchased, and we've got a Budio Orata, which this is one I've had for one of my oldest palms. I've had this for 6, 7, 8 years, not quite sure, from a very tiny little seedling, and I dug it out of the garden and it's now potted up. I'll probably move that along to someone else because I don't need that particular palm at the moment. Yeah, so obviously we've got a lot of the succulents in here as well, the agaves, some cacti, that sort of thing. Agave attenuata, not as certainly not as susceptible to cold as a lot of people would think. As long as it's kept dry, that'll take minus temperatures. Don't really want to get a frost, this is why it's indoors in this summer house. But yeah, so that is what we're going to call for today only, Santa's Grotto. So yeah, just a few tender plants which are just overwintering dry in here. Right, so we've almost got a glimpse of the sun coming through the clouds. We'll just have a look at some of the plants we don't often look at. We've got this big leaf rhododendron here. So I've had this will be the second winter. Brought this is quite a small plant, like I say, about 2 years ago. Might be coming up to 2 years in probably about March, April time. I think we got this, and yeah, it's done well. It was the size of basically one of these smaller shoots here, and it's been in the ground and done very well. It's got some good sized leaves on it. You can see well over 1.5 feet. Nice evergreen. Again, sort of starting to bud up for some new growth next year. That's done very well. Luckily I am on sort of sandy but slightly acidic soil, so that does tend to do quite well without adding any ericaceous compost or anything like that. Don't need to alter the acidity of the soil, because that sort of, the garden suits it quite well. So that would go the same for the camellia here. These are got a couple of camellias which are very small. I just got reduced last year, I think, from B&M. I literally paid a few quid for them, and yeah, so that's one of them, starting to get a few little buds on it for some flowers next year. So yeah, this area is sort of behind the deck and then behind a lot of bigger plants, so this is sort of still a fairly young area as regards to the plantings. Are still quite small. So I've got a Cuba japonica there and another camellia there, so in a few years time this will be a nice evergreen backdrop to cover the fence, as it were. We've got a Fatsia spider's web there. So we've got my stick plant, or as it is a Pseudopanix ferox. So again, had that for a couple of years. I think it's been there, from a very small sort of foot-sized plant. It's now over 4 foot, so it's done okay. We've got the tree fern, which will be being moved in early spring, so that's going to go down behind the other tree fern down near the wildlife pond, just to open this area up a bit and give me a space for the new Cyathea medullaris that I bought a couple of weeks back. The Behonia soft caress, I think, is sort of finished flowering now by the looks of it. Still, the foliage is looking fantastic this time of year. So getting in here, see, we've got another Fatsia here, nice variegated. But this is a palm which I decided not to protect this year. So this is Oranga angleri, dwarf sugar palm. Probably quite a rare one to grow in the UK. It's more of a collector's palm, but it is quite cold tolerant. I wouldn't say it's cold hardy, but it can certainly take -6, -7, probably with damage. So this is one I've had for a few years. The main damage you're seeing on this frond here is sunburn. I had a real trouble with this palm, bringing it in and out each year, burning the leaves. So this is why I decided to plant it out. And it's very slow palm, but quite a tropical looking one once it starts putting out some growth. So this is the frond that's opened up this year, and I'm hoping if we get a couple of warmer summers, that should, it's been in the ground for a year, so it should start taking off. Right, let's see if I can get out of here without tripping up. Yeah, I think it's just going to be some random updates on some plants I don't normally talk about much. I've got a Trachycarpus fortunei here, which I bought a couple, probably 3 foot in total, about 4 years ago. Put them in the ground, and this one from 3 foot is now probably pushing 6.5 foot to the top of the fronds. Very wide and quite large fronds on this one. Quite a nice looking one. Slight silvery back to it, but that is just a standard fortunei. But yeah, it's done quite well. Schefflera taiwaniana. No winter damage on that. Not been cold enough yet. Lots of sort of small growth come out the bottom and along the trunk as well. Pseudopanix mower's toes. It's been a good, solid, quite a fast growing shrub. Nice dark leaf on it, nice shiny evergreen leaf. Always stands out this time of year. So I'm sort of hazed over the plants I've sort of talked about in the last few videos, a lot of the palms, because they're, you know, I haven't had the cause to do anything with them yet. I haven't had to tie them up or fleece bag or anything. Again, we've only had sort of -3 so far this winter, so that's not cold enough to even worry about them. So we've got another rhododendron here, another variegated type. Nice big bud on that. And we've got another rhododendron here, the wine and roses, with the dark burgundy underside the leaf. That flowers quite well in early to mid-spring. Do need to give these fruit trees a good trim back. They're going a bit scraggly and a bit out of hand. So we've got a couple of apple trees and a plum tree there, which, never mind about that just now. I'll do that in the spring after they've flowered, because I do like the fruit blossoms. Right, I don't know how well we can see in here, so I've still got a lot of the Spanish reed. I haven't cut that back. It's sort of browned off with the cold week he had with the frosts, but I think this year I'm going to cut that down to the ground. Normally I do leave that and it just regrows again, but this looks a bit scruffy. You don't get the nice fresh growth of the new cane, so I will cut all that back in very early spring. But looking at the bananas, I don't know if we can see, it's the Musabashi we've got since the frosts, I don't know, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Well, no, it's probably longer than that. It was the end of November, weren't it? So we've got the roller, which sort of browned off at the top, but yeah, it's pushed out since. So we've got over 18 inches of fresh green growth on the Musa Bajus. It's like I say, we've had that cold week, but apart from that, it's been pretty mild. So another palm I don't talk about much, but is a good solid palm, is the Camarops Volcano, or Compactor. This is again, a lot of people say it's quite a slow palm, and it is slow grown, but again, a lot of palms are slow grown in here in the UK, but this, for me, I've been surprised how quick it has grown. And it's been when we had the winter 22-23, the winter of death, a lot of people are calling it, this is one of the few Camarops that had no problem whatsoever, where a lot of the others spear pulled, the Cerifera and Humulus, a lot of them spear pulled. This one, shoe no damage whatsoever. Really tough, sturdy palm, and you can just tell by the sound of it how stiff the fronds are. So that's quite a nice palm, that one. Really sturdy. Right, so I always have this one. This Washingtonia robusta is a bit of a indicator plant. It's never really supposed to survive the winters, but it seems to. I never protect this one, but this year if we get a cold patch, I might just put a fleece bag over it for the coldest. But yeah, it's proved itself to be quite a tough little Washingtonia, that one, so we'll leave that unprotected as long as we can and see what happens. So what I do need to do is come in here and cut a lot of this passion flower back, because that's going to restrict me when I do want to tie this Bootea odorata back. The passion vine is actually intermingled in a lot of these branches, so it's going to make that quite difficult, so I'm going to have to cut all that back just to make it easy to tie this back and fleece bag it if I need to. Right, so we looked at the potted Bootea agris earlier in Santa's Grotto, and this one is the one that's in the ground. -3, I don't know if I've ever seen -3 in this life. It might have been kept in a polytunnel over winter up to this point. So, and to be fair, a lot of these older fronds were sort of starting to colour out a bit and get brown tips on, but we have got some sort of damage on the tips of these. So again, -3 is really as low as I want to go with this particular plant, being at quite a young and new plant to me. I wouldn't let it go below -3 without a fleece bag now. I think that'd be the limit before you start getting some serious damage. I mean, the new fronds still looking perfect. I'm not concerned about that. So I know -3, and you know, this is nearly 3-4 weeks ago. We had a week of quite cold temperatures and no damage. So if the new fronds aren't showing any damage at that point after nearly a month, then I know that's a safe place to be with that plant. But I don't think I would go much below that. So again, another Musa Baju here, which is got frosted off and now pushing out new growth again. Plant that so this is a Schefflera Deliverite. Why am I? Right, let's start again. This is a Schefflera Delivii. One I got winter last year, and that's been in the ground all summer. I haven't really seen it, to be fair, because we did have a lot of the summer growth around here, and that's more or less sort of shaded out. But now everything's died back, and come spring I will cut this Washingtonia leaf off just to give it some space to grow. But yeah, that's looking quite good. So So this is one of the hardier cheflauers, one of, if not the hardiest. Nice sort of cut leaves, and they're not always like that. Some of them are more rounded. Some plants don't have the cut leaves at all. Some are more just sort of standard formation. This one has got a few growths with some interestingly cut leaves. We'll see how that one does next year. Just getting his feet in this year. Right, so again, I don't really want to go over the same sort of plants, so I'm just looking at a few plants I haven't really talked about. I did get, before we leave, again, sort of point this out on the video a few weeks ago, but we are getting a lot of the spring flowers and plants coming up now, just due to how mild it's been. But the we did get a little, it might have been this time last year, a reduction, little tree fern, which is planted at the base of this Trachycarpus here, and so far has done okay. Obviously we had a couple of fronds die off. I think they might have been the ones that it came with. They were sort of pretty much dead until it's flushed out over the summer. So that might be one just to chuck a fleece bag over when it's really cold, because the small Dicksonia antarcticas tree ferns, they don't put out a full flush like the big ones do, where you'll get a huge flush from the centre in early spring. The small ones just sort of put out the odd frond here and there, and if you lose all the fronds in one winter, that could possibly kill your plant. Right, so we'll finish up on this tree fern here. So again, absolutely no protection at -3, doesn't need it at that point. Even the fronds, all the newer fronds at -3. A couple of very small brown tips, but in general pretty much mint condition. Very happy with that. The only protection that's getting it is natural leaves, which I've just stuffed a few in there. So natural leaf fall, I've just picked up and got a handful and stuck in the centre there. I won't protect that until we're looking at -4, -5, and then at that point I'll just literally just chuck a big fleece over the whole plant just to protect the fronds as well. Seems to work fine. Another one of my favourite little ferns. I don't recall the name of this one, but just the really wide leaflets on it. Good evergreen. Alright, so basically just to go over again, Merry Christmas everyone. It is tough this time of year to come up with content, because you know not much is happening in the garden. So other than a couple of sort of very late season purchases we've got over the last few weeks, there's not really been much happening. And you know, again, the nights are starting to pull out. We've had the winter equinox, shortest day, so every day a little bit more light, but don't be fooled, it's still going to be the coldest. Next 6 weeks will be the coldest part of the year, and this is where we have to be very vigilant and just keep an eye on things and react as and when we need to protect some of the tender plants. If you're not growing tender plants, then you ain't got to worry about it. You'll have a nice hardy evergreen backdrop. But for those of us who do like to push the limits or have something a bit more interesting or unusual, keep an eye out on your local weather forecast, and we'll once again wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year if I didn't do a video before then. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you on the next one.